Francisco Bay Area. All right. Welcome. Now, if you're wondering if you're in the right place, let me assure you, this is to stop Kavanaugh. We are here today to unite for justice and to stop Kavanaugh. I want to first of all thank our wonderful, wonderful singers, our performers, Lanice Smith. She's a Bay Area soloist with roots in soul, country, and gospel music. I know you can feel that. And though she performs around town, most of her talent is utilized in her local church in Marin County. So we want to thank you again, Lanice, for sharing your talents and your gifts with us today as we unite for justice. We may be here in San Francisco in the Civic Center on this Sunday, but we know that we are also standing united for justice with many, many other brothers and sisters around this nation. Is that right? So we are definitely not only part of something great and big that's happening here in the Bay Area, but nationwide. It is my pleasure and honor to serve today as your MC for Unite for Justice. My name is Andrea Shorter. I serve here in San Francisco on the wonderful Commission on the Status of Women. And for several years have been involved in criminal and juvenile justice reform, LGBT rights, civil rights, and all the things that we all care about. It's my pleasure to do a couple of things before I introduce our first speaker. I want to point out the registration booth. How many here are registered to vote? How many here promise to take the pledge that our assessor has put before us to not only vote, but to get and register someone else to vote and make sure they get to the polls? Who's ready for that? For the W Challenge. So there is a registration, a voter registration booth that is to my right. And so we want to make sure that people have a chance to take advantage of that. And that young man over there is waving and letting you know where the registration booth is. Also, we have porta potties. You got to announce that. Okay? We don't want to have a panic. They are back there, way back there. So now you know where the porta potties are. We have two great hashtags for today. Who has their smartphones with them? All right. Those of you that have not raised your hand, I know you have your smartphones with you. 1, hashtag Unite for Justice. Got it? 2, hashtag Stop Kavanaugh. I'm going to bring up our first speaker. She really does not need an introduction. She inspires fear in every glass ceiling she meets. She is our mayor, the mayor of San Francisco, the first black woman elected to this position. She is a native San Franciscan. She previously served as our first president of the Board of Supervisors, the one, the only, the fierce mayor of London Breed.
Good afternoon, everybody! Are we fired up? Are we ready to go? You know, I remember in 2012, after the election, I saw people in the streets crying. People crying because of what had happened when we elected that president to be the president of the United States. They were crying because they knew what we all know is happening right now. We have a president that on a daily basis lies to the American people. We have a president that has turned our country into a reality TV show. We have a president that continues to push against gun control, against the environment, against reproductive rights, against health care in general. Someone who is trying to roll back the clock. And the reason why we are here today is because we are standing strong and proud to say, we are not going to let you do it, Mr. President. It's why I've accepted the W Challenge. We have not only got to vote, we have to make sure we're registering people to vote, not just women. We have to look at places all over this country because we have got to take back the White House. Elections have consequences. And now with this Supreme Court nominee, it has consequences that could be fatal to the future of our country. This is a lifetime appointment, one that we have to do everything we can to stop it. Now, I know we're tired. I know we're just tired of needing to come together to address these issues. I'm not tired of seeing each and every one of you, but yes, I'm tired of every single day needing to fight against what we know is happening in the White House. But what our message is today is as tired as we are of coming together to fight against this president, we are not going to stop until we win. We are not going to let you tear this country apart. We're going to continue to protect our immigrant community. We're going to continue to stand up for our LGBT community. We're going to continue to fight every challenge that you put before us because here in San Francisco, this is where the work gets done. This is where we come together. This is where we stand tall and proud. So today we come together to say we are asking senators, we're asking congresspersons all over the country, vote no on Kavanaugh! Vote no on Kavanaugh! Vote no on Kavanaugh! Yes, vote no. Let's get the word out. Let's continue to come together. Let's use social media. Let's call our friends in other states. Let's stop this nominee. Thank you all so much for being here today.
All right. I think she was very clear about that. Thank you, Mayor Breed. Our next speaker is someone who I also greatly admire. This is the Reverend Yolanda Norton and John Lazinga. If you went to the, excuse me, sister, excuse me. If you went to the Beyonce Mass at Grace Cathedral, you will know Reverend Yolanda Norton. When she was leading, who went to the Grace Cathedral for the Beyonce? Come on now. When she's now leading worship services for the Beehive, she is the assistant professor of Old Testament at the San Francisco Theological Seminary and is a PhD candidate at Vanderbilt University. She is joined by John Lazinga, a third-year Master's of Divinity student at San Francisco Theological Seminary, who is using his musical gifts and passion for equity to create a social justice worship album. Come on now.
Watch and pray. and pray. Won't you stay with me? Oh, remain with me. Won't you stay with me? Oh, remain with me. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. Won't you stay with me? Oh, remain with me. Won't you stay with me? Oh, remain with me. Oh, suffering God, how you know loneliness. Oh, suffering God, how you weep for us. Oh, suffering God, how you know injustice. Oh, suffering God, won't you stay with us? Oh, suffering God, how you know injustice. Oh, suffering God, won't you stay with us?
I have been asked time and time again how Kavanaugh's election and the world that we find ourselves in has anything to do with the faith community. And I have to say that I've watched too long conservative Christians rule the conversation about faith leaders' responsibility in this conversation. As a woman of faith, as a Christian, I have to admit that I'm also deeply disgusted by this pro-life, pro-choice debate. It's disingenuous and it's not real. I, as a Christian, as a minister of the gospel, and as a professor of Old Testament, I choose life. I choose the life of women who have to make a decision based on the fact that they don't have the resources or the capacity to bear or raise a child in a world that has no desire to care for children when they're here on earth. I choose the life of women who have to make difficult decisions in a world that does not provide resources for reproductive health. I choose the life of women who've been sexually assaulted in a world that refuses to hear them. I want us to have a real pro-life conversation in the church and in the world. I want to live in a world that's in favor of the life of black boys and girls and black women and men. I want to live in a world that supports pro-life in such a way that black people can walk down the street and drive in our cars without fear that our very existence is a crime worthy of martial law and capital punishment. You want to talk about pro-life? Let's have a real pro-life conversation. Let's talk about living in a nation that is so pro-life that we deem it necessary to stop people from separating parents from children at borders and locking children in cages. You want to have a real pro-life conversation? I want to have a conversation that decides that prison is not a solution to mental health problems, that education is a right and not a privilege, and that no one should be hungry or be denied adequate health care. That is a pro-life conversation. I believe that God is weeping because of the injustices that we have allowed to play out in this country and across the world. And God is waiting for those of us who believe in her to pray with our feet, to vote, and to stop anyone who denies human dignity to all of God's people who are created in the image of God, be they black or white, woman or man, gay or straight, trans or cisgender. That is the real pro-life conversation. And so we cannot tolerate these people who seek to snuff out life.
Whoa! I am revived. Thank you so much, Reverend Norton, and to John. That was beautiful music, wasn't it? Now I'm going to try a little something before we bring up our next speaker. Now, we're all here very seasoned resistors, is that right? And so one of our clarion calls of the resistance is no justice.
No peace.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No peace.
I say no justice, and you say what?
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Now, since we are talking about stopping Kavanaugh as a justice of no peace, this justice, no peace. This justice, no peace. This justice, no peace. This justice, no peace. I'm going to give y'all time to practice that. Our next speaker is Dr. Pratima Gupta. Yes, indeed. Dr. Gupta is the kind of doctor that makes you want to spend 8 years and 200 grand to go to medical school. She's an OBGYN and abortion provider. She is out here with us in the trenches, dismantling the patriarchy through her work as a physician, advocate, and vice chair of our San Francisco Democratic Party. Please welcome and come on up, Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Andrea. Together, we can stop Kavanaugh. Namaste. Buenas tardes. My name is Dr. Pratima Gupta, and I am an obstetrician gynecologist and abortion provider here in the Bay Area. I practice medicine. Politicians should not. I took an oath to do what's best for my patients, and that includes covering them for all healthcare services, including abortion, and advocating for access to healthcare that respects and values their dignity. I'm often asked how I can morally be a parent while also delivering babies and do abortions. My answer is simple. Reproductive justice is about personal bodily autonomy. Together, we can stop Kavanaugh. Together, we can stop Kavanaugh. Again, together, we can stop Kavanaugh. Abortion is essential, safe health care that many women will need. It shouldn't be up to ideological judges who should be free of political constraints to make decisions about their health care. if and when to parent is a decision that someone should make with their family and a trusted healthcare provider like me. Together we can. Stop Together we can. Stop Recently, I saw Pearl, a young white woman who was working part-time in a coffee shop and while going to school. She got pregnant and came to me literally trembling with fear. She said, "Will I still be able to get an abortion? I'm hearing so much about Trump. I'm scared." So I counseled her about all her options, and she elected to terminate the pregnancy. I did her abortion and gave her the long-acting contraception that she wanted. This is how it should work. Together we can. Together we can. 1 in 4 women have an abortion during their lifetime. Pearl was one such woman, but there are many more. Their voices have been silenced by our society for too long. No more.
I was assaulted by a anti-choice person outside of the clinic in which I choose to terminate my pregnancy. This person felt completely justified. This should not be the norm. This should not be acceptable.
No more silence.
When I had my abortion, it was illegal, and I don't want any other woman of any age to undergo that kind of terror.
We cannot stay silent anymore about the experiences and humanities of those women who go through abortions. Because if we do, they will be defined by those who wish to keep them quiet. Share your stories of abortion, because together we have to speak up. Together we can. Together we can. The nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court is alarming for anyone who cares about fundamental rights like abortion. For too many patients, abortion is almost impossible to access. These regulations unfairly target low-income families and people of color. This is not an isolated step to stop women from having abortions. Together we can. Stop Kavanaugh. Together we can. Stop Kavanaugh. We are all here today fighting to ensure our sisters, our neighbors, our children, and you all can access safe and legal quality reproductive health care you need. Where there is no access, there is no choice. So speak up, share your stories, and stand together. Together we can.
Together we can. Together we can.
Stop Kavanaugh!
Together we can.
Stop Kavanaugh! Thank you. Gracias. Dhanyavad.
I think we found our rally's next MC. Thank you, Dr. Gupta, and to the women that joined you. Let's give them another round of applause. It takes a lot to get up on stage, share your story, to empower all of us. So thank you. It is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce our next speaker, Amy Everett. Amy Everett is the state director of NARAL Pro-Choice California and the vice president of special projects at NARAL Pro-Choice America. She is a native San Franciscan, a lifelong activist, and general badass. As one fangirl employee puts it, when Amy starts speaking, everyone listens. Amy Everett.
everyone. This is a great sight for me to see from here. I want to take a moment and share with you what NARAL Pro-Choice California does. We are the political leader of the pro-choice movement. What that means is we elect pro-choice champions, many of whom you'll hear today. We elect them to pass awesome pro-choice public policy or to stop bad public policy. And we use our over 2 million members from around the country to make cultural change, to take the shame and stigma of abortion care and reproductive freedom out of the shame and into the light. So today is Women's Equality Day. And I want to take a moment and share with you what that means to me. When I think about this, I think about women's equality as I think about men's equality, transgender equality, and everything in between. It's the freedom to live our lives the way we want. It's not complicated. But core to that freedom and equality is bodily autonomy. If we don't have the freedom to make decisions about our bodies and our lives, we don't have freedom. If we can't choose if, when, and with whom to have children, we can't live the lives that we want to live and pursue the dreams that we have. If we can't choose the people we marry, we can't live the happiest life that we deserve to live. If we can't choose which bathroom we're most comfortable using, we can't live our lives the way we want to. And if we have to go to work and be worried about being harassed or touched, we cannot be our full economic selves, having the careers and the jobs that we have worked for and want. So today, from coast to coast, in all 50 states, there are more than 200 rallies just like this. Barbecues in Alabama, house parties in Minnesota, in Maine to Alaska to Hawaii. And we're all here, as Andrea said earlier, because we oppose Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is the single largest day of action ever in American history to oppose a Supreme Court nominee. And we're here raising our voices and sharing our stories because the GOP has been in hiding all summer long. The second Brett Kavanaugh was nominated, they disappeared. There are no town halls. They're not meeting with constituents. They're not doing as much press. So we need to lift up our voices today because there is no senator in this country who will not hear the voices of their constituents opposing Brett Kavanaugh. And let's talk about Brett Kavanaugh for a minute. Today, some people have said, why do we oppose Brett Kavanaugh? So I've got a few good reasons. Let's start with Roe versus Wade. Fundamentally, the hope and the promise of women's reproductive freedom. He has said recently that his role model on the court was when William Rehnquist dissented in the Roe versus Wade decision. He was one of only two in that 7-2 decision who opposed a woman's right to choose. This is Brett Kavanaugh's role model. A few months ago, a young woman came into our country undocumented and unaccompanied, and she's a minor. She had a pregnancy from a rape in her home country. She went through the Byzantine Texas law process to get a judicial bypass to access abortion care in our country. The Trump administration refused to allow her to access that care. Luckily, the ACLU intervened and brought it to the courts. And the courts agreed that this young woman could access care. But you know who was the only person who dissented in that District Court of Appeals decision? Brett Kavanaugh. We know that he puts corporate interest over individual interest, and we know that he has said that presidents do not have to adhere to the same laws of the land that you and I have to adhere to. And I have to say
GOP, let's remember they have the White House, they have Congress, and they have the U.S. Senate. They're ramming through this nominee at a record pace. And they know they're doing that because they know what you and I know, and that is that Brett Kavanaugh is the least popular Supreme Court nominee ever. He is less popular than Harriet Miers. He is less popular than Robert Bork. And if you don't know those names, that's because they did not go on to the United States Supreme Court. What we need to do, and what Dianne Feinstein is doing, is making the call, and we have to have her back to review all the records of Brett Kavanaugh. The Democrats provided all that information for Sonia Sotomayor, for Elena Kagan. We also supplied it for Neil Gorsuch. So I don't know what the problem is with Brett Kavanaugh's record, except maybe his record is the problem. Because we know that if we do review all of his records, Americans will know what you and I already know, that he is too extreme to sit on the United States Supreme Court. Now let's talk about this, because some people have said to me, can you really stop Brett Kavanaugh from getting on the Supreme Court? Yes, we can. And we can because if you recall, for 19 months we have been fighting for our rights, our fundamental rights. Hold on one second. And they said that we couldn't stop the repeal of Obamacare. We did. They said we couldn't stop the defunding of Planned Parenthood. We did. And they say we can't stop Brett Kavanaugh. And I'm here to tell you, yes, we can. And the reason we have beaten and will continue to succeed is because of you. Every one of you who is here today, because the power of the people cannot be denied in our democracy. It is the building block of freedom and equality, and our voice is our most powerful tool. So today is the day we've frankly all been waiting for, to hold this administration and this Congress accountable for the direction they're sending our country. But today is one day of the beginning of the end of the final stretch that started in November of 2016. This is the election we have all been waiting for. This is the election that we are going to show up as the majority in our country. We're going to talk like it, we're going to act like it, and we're going to vote like it. So today, I ask all of you, join up. You're here today, join NARAL, join Planned Parenthood, join our 18 partner organizations. We are all out there working every day between now and Election Day to stop Kavanaugh, hold them accountable, and frankly, kick them out. Thank you all so much.
Yes. Yes. Amy. Too extreme to be a supreme. How's that?
Yeah.
Can you work with me on that?
Yeah.
Is that a little better than the last try? Too extreme? Too extreme? I love you guys. Next, I also want to remind everyone, share your stories using the hashtags. Hashtag Stop Kavanaugh and hashtag Unite for Justice. Share your stories today. Get it out there. Why you are here and why it is important to you that we stop this nominee. Next, we have wonderful performer, Lapel and Kendra McKinley. Lapel is a San Franciscan-based songwriter, singer, keys player, and producer. Her time as a social worker supporting homeless youth has inspired a song on her debut album, Periphery, out on September the 14th. Today she will be joined by Kendra McKinley to share her original song, Less of a Woman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. I feel like I was waiting my whole life for the message that my ability or desire to have children didn't determine my worth or value as a woman. And when I wasn't hearing that message, I decided to write it myself. And I'm so honored to be able to sing that and share that with you today. And that's what this song is about. Thank you to Kendra, and this is Cody Rhodes. This is Less of a Woman.
The sadness in my hips, the shame in my soul, caught inside me in a lonely coil. I feel like a dirty secret. It's my choice, I don't need a reason. Does it make me? Does it make me? Does it make me?
September 14th. Thank you. Thank you both very much. That was wonderful. Just wonderful. Well, this is where we are today. Again, as Amy said, we are together with hundreds of thousands of other brothers and sisters around this nation. And here in the Bay Area, aren't we completely fortunate and gifted to have the next speaker that I am just so proud and humbled to introduce to you, that not only speaks for San Francisco Bay Area, but speaks for many, many, many Americans across this nation. And that is the one, the only Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee has represented the 13th Congressional District in the United States House of Representatives since 1998. She serves on the Budget and Appropriations Committees and is the co-chair of the Pro-Choice Caucus. Barbara Lee speaks for me. She was the only member of Congress to vote against the authorization of the use of military force in the year 2001, for which she became a bit of a progressive celebrity. Now, legend and folklore have it, now I happen to believe this to be the gospel truth, that when you look up the word woke in the dictionary, guess who you see? Congresswoman Barbara Lee, thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, Andrea, so much for that very spirited introduction. And yes, we are staying woke. Let me thank you, first of all, for being here, for the work that you do each and every day. I've got to thank Amy for her tremendous leadership. But let me just give yourself a round of applause, because what you're doing really is helping to lead this country. You're helping to lead our community on the side of justice, because we are united for justice. I'm really honored to be here, first of all, with you and with NARA, also with Senator Wiener, Assemblymember Chu. Also, I just have to thank our two great senators, Senator Feinstein and Harris, for really staying vigilant and speaking for us. Also, to our leader, Nancy Pelosi, for her bold and visionary leadership. It's an honor to serve with Nancy. And I just want to say to Mayor Breed, I know she was here earlier, but what a phenomenal woman who is a magnificent leader. And I have to congratulate her once again and you for electing such a great woman as mayor of San Francisco. Now, looking out today, I just have to say the resistance has shown up again. You're here. Do you feel the power that we have?
Yeah.
And yeah, are we united for justice?
Yeah.
We are. Now, you know better than most that we're faced with some very challenging, some say troubled, I say challenging times, like many here. Now, I personally remember the days of back alley abortions. Do some of you remember those days? The days when just being a woman was a pre-existing condition. Do you remember those days? Also, I remember the days very recently when this country denied access to health care for low-income women and women of color. But there was one thing that this country couldn't deny, and that's the energy and the determination and the heroism of women throughout this country and people of conscience, and that's you today. So thank you for not turning back. There was one group of women I want to cite in February 1969. They met in New York. They formed a group. They were called the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws, as in NARAL. Can you imagine? Repeal the deadly law of the land, how bold they were then? It sounded impossible. But with people like the first president of its board of directors, you know who that was? It was Shirley Chisholm, my mentor. They got to work. Congresswoman, the first African-American woman elected to Congress, was the first chair of the board of directors of NARA. They organized, they lobbied, they went to court, and 4 years later came Roe versus Wade. So I say today, and I ask you, can we do anything less? No. Can we fight just as hard? Yes. Will we let Donald Trump and Michael Pence get their way? No. Will we let them turn back the clock? No. We will not. Because make no mistake, Brett Kavanaugh will be a rubber stamp for the Trump agenda. We've seen this playbook before. They will stop nothing at nothing to end Roe as we know it. They will undermine it. They will erode it. They will limit access to reproductive health care, including abortions, again and again and again. And who will suffer? Women, children, especially low-income women and women of color. Right. Women who can't afford to travel or take a day off of work. Can we let that happen? No! And Kavanaugh won't just put reproductive rights on the chopping block. He'll block common sense gun reform. I say to you today, we cannot allow this administration to elevate gun rights over our right to safety. We can't let them do that. We can't let the NRA control the Supreme Court. No way. Kavanaugh would gut the Voting Rights Act. That's right. I say to you, we can't let anyone interfere with our democracy. Not Russia, not the White House, and no, not the Supreme Court. Too much is at stake. We've made progress on the environment. He would erase that. We've made progress on LGBTQ rights, marriage equality. He would end that. We've made progress on workers' rights. He would block them. That's right. That's what's in store and more with Kavanaugh on the court. There are those who say we should just give up. They say move on to the next fight. Nope. What do you say? Hell no! We've come too far to turn back now. We must demand justices who respect women's rights to plan their own families, who understand how to protect our communities against gun violence, who respect the fundamental civic right of every American to vote. And you know what? The first president of NARAL, Shirley Chisholm, she had a saying, and she said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. That's what Shirley said. I've heard her say it over and over again. Not only did we bring our chairs, we are here to stay. We are here to stay. 50 years later, we remember today those fighting pioneers. Because when we fight, like when they fought, we win. And we can win this time. With your help, we need you to continue to bring this street heat. We need you to call your senators and senators throughout the country and your friends and family members. You need to go to their town hall meetings. You need to write to your local papers and papers throughout this country. And yeah, we need to show up in November. We need to show up because you know what? The road and the path to victory starts in California. We have so many great candidates that we need support to support so we can win and take back this house. We need to do that. You need to knock on doors, work with our organizations, make phone calls, donate your dollars to make sure that we not only keep Kavanaugh off of our highest court, but any other nominee that this dangerous administration puts forth. We need to put our system of checks and balances back into place. Right now, there is no check on this administration. We need to be that wall of resistance in the House and in the system and in the Senate against this administration's policies. And most importantly, we need you to stay woke. Need you to stay woke. So I'm going to keep fighting alongside every one of you here today. Together, I believe we can defeat Brett Kavanaugh's dangerous nomination because it is dangerous. We must. Because 50 years after those dark days, we remember today those sheroes and heroes, those pioneers who fought against all of the odds so that women could stand tall and say they will decide what to do with their bodies. No Supreme Court justice, no elected official should get into their business. No way. Keep them out of our personal, private business. We cannot, we should not, and we will not let them take us back ever again. No way. So today, I just want to thank you for being here. Excuse me. I want to thank you all very much for your leadership, for keeping that street heat on, standing for justice, standing for women's reproductive rights, standing for women's rights, standing for our democracy, because so much is at stake, and this is a defining moment. So when we fight, what happens? We win. Thank you again. Thank you, Nayra.
Yes! Yes! If you wasn't woke before, you gotta be woke now. Thank you, Congresswoman Lee. We love you. And you always speak for me. Many years ago, when the suffragettes fought for and won women's right to vote, women's right to vote, we are celebrating that this week is the anniversary of women's right to vote. And I would like to think that when they envisioned what was possible, that they envisioned Barbara Lee, they envisioned Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and many others that are fighting to stop this nomination and to stand up for a woman's right to determine her own destiny. I am just delighted to be able to bring up our next speakers. These are three brothers that are tremendous allies and leaders in our state legislature. San Francisco Bay Area, we are very fortunate to have with us today our state senator, Scott Wiener. Our assembly member, David Chu. And our other assembly member, Phil Ting. Scott Wiener has represented the 11th District in the California State Senate since 2016. He is a champion for affordable housing in the LGBT community, and has lived in the Castro for over 20 years. David Chu is the California State Assembly member for District 17 and is the author of the Reproductive Fact Act. Yeah. He previously served for 6 years as the first Asian American president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Yeah. And Phil Ting. Phil Ting serves as a member of the California State Assembly representing District 19. He is currently the chair of the Budget Assembly Committee, where he fights for equal rights and environmental protections. Give it up, y'all.
So we're going to stop Brett Kavanaugh? First, let me say, and I know I speak for my colleagues, what a deep honor it is to represent San Francisco and the Bay Area in our state capital, because San Francisco values are California values, are American values. And that's what we fight for every day. And I never thought that I would see the time where it was painful even to watch the news and to have basically a criminal organization in the White House. This is out of control. And this president should not be putting more lifetime appointments, more justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. And Brett Kavanaugh, he's not just a right-wing person, he is a political operative, and he's going to bring a horrible agenda to the Supreme Court. We don't need to go back on a woman's right to choose. We don't need to go back to the days of back alley abortions, women dying because they can't access basic health services. We don't need to go back in terms of pushing my community, the LGBT community, back into the closet. We already have too many young LGBT people committing suicide. We need to help lift these people up, not push people down. And that's what this fight is about. We don't need to go back to making it harder and harder and stopping people from voting. We need to make it easier for people to vote in this country. And we don't need to go back to the days when there were no protections of workers, when it was illegal for workers to organize. We need to support working people in this country. That is what this fight is about. Let's stop Kavanaugh.
Hello, San Francisco. We ready to fight? Are we ready to resist? Are we ready to take our country back? My name is David Chu, and I'm so honored, along with my colleagues, to be part of the California resistance against the dishonor that this president is treating the White House. I was asked to say a few words about one aspect of how a Supreme Court with Brett Kavanaugh is going to jeopardize women's health. And you may wonder, why was a male legislator asked to talk about this? And let me explain. In 2015, NARAL asked me to carry what we thought was going to be a simple bill to address so-called crisis pregnancy centers, otherwise known as fake health centers, where if you are pregnant and you walk into this clinic, you will be told that if you get an abortion, you will get breast cancer, you will become infertile, you will want to commit suicide. The Reproductive Fact Act was very simple. It said that every clinic in the state of California needed to provide a 2-line notice that said that in California, all women have the right to choose. We passed that law. 4 district courts found the Reproductive Fact Act to be constitutional. The federal appellate court said the Reproductive Fact Act was constitutional. In October of 2016, Donald Trump gets elected. Neil Gorsuch gets put on the court. And on June the 26th, by the slimmest majority of 5-4, this Supreme Court struck down the Reproductive Fact Act. This is what is at stake. We cannot afford for women, for immigrants, for LGBT community, for families, for labor, for all of us to have this person put on the Supreme Court. So I want to ask all of you to repeat after me, because I know the cameras are still here, but I love the sign that's right in front of me that says Kavanaugh. Can you repeat after me? Kavanaugh, 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 Kavanaugh. Thank you. Let me just end with one thing we all know. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We are going to be here taking this fight until this Supreme Court brings us back to justice. Is that right, people? Are we going to win? Are we going to take our country back? Are we going to take our Supreme Court back? Thank you very much.
You know, it's an honor to really stand here with David and Scott, because we stand arm in arm every single day in Sacramento representing you and everything that we stand for. And I know that many Republicans, and you hear this when people voted for Donald Trump, is that they thought he was kidding when he said they was going to deport immigrants. They thought he was kidding when he talked about a Muslim ban. They thought he was kidding when he said he was going to come after reproductive rights. Well, one by one, he's done his Muslim ban. He's come after people who've been living and working in this country, and just for the crime that they just don't have all the right papers. And now he's coming after every single woman in this country and our reproductive rights. And these are rights that we've had for decades. It's not something that just happened last year. These are rights that we have appreciated, honored, and fought for. And there is absolutely no way that we will stand to let these rights be taken away. Are you with us? Yeah. Are we going to fight? Yeah. So we want to make sure that we send this message out, that we are standing together. It's not just about women. It's not just about the LGBT community or immigrants. It's really every single one of us, because he's coming after one of us one by one by one. And we have to make sure that we send a message in November, not just here in California, but really all across the country. And that first message is to Brett Kavanaugh. We're going to make sure we deliver that message to him first, because we need to stand to stop Brett Kavanaugh. Are we with me? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh. Our next speakers are two of our leaders in the women's community and the LGBT community, Rebecca Prozan and Julia Adams. Rebecca and Julia have been married since 2008, when they tied the knot shortly before Proposition 8 passed. Both are attorneys. Both are some of the fiercest advocates I've ever known. They're advocates for LGBT equality, for women's rights, for civil rights, and human rights. Let's welcome Rebecca and Julia.
Thank you, Mistress of Ceremonies. The check is in the mail. My name is Rebecca Prozan, and this is my wife, Julia Adams. I grew up 15 miles away from here in the 1980s, and the term wife was one I never thought I would utter. It's almost unbelievable that we've reached this point of using the term wives. Julia and I met while we were law students at Golden Gate University. 3 times, Julia and I have pledged our love to each other. Twice in the building right behind us, once as domestic partners, and another time during the 2003 Winter of Love. The second time, the California Supreme Court annulled our marriage. The third time, in 2008, was during the window that allowed persons to marry who they love, regardless of gender. It was that third time that the California Supreme Court, through a very windy process, allowed persons of the same sex to once again marry each other. Finally, our marriage vows were seen as equal to our opposite-gendered brothers and sisters. Later on, in a decision from a different case, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed people across the country to marry who they love. We can do a little more. And as we say on social media, love won. Let's hear it for love. It is precisely this battle that is at stake if Kavanaugh is confirmed to the Supreme Court. It can't happen. Millions of people need a Supreme Court justice and a Supreme Court that values love, choice, and freedom. There is a larger agenda here, an agenda that is being pushed by the right wing, who want to see a rollback of civil, reproductive, religious, and LGBTQ rights. Kavanaugh is promising swing senators like Susan Collins that he will stand by Roe v. Wade. But Kavanaugh has also said at his nomination ceremony that his job is to interpret the law and not make it. We worry that when you say interpreting the law, it can mean different things to different people. And let's be clear, Kavanaugh is being nominated to make decisions that will roll back the clock to a time when we were fighting to desegregate schools, to make reproductive choice legal, and to allow everyone the right to vote. If Kavanaugh is on the dais and he is making decisions along with sitting and future justices who wish to further roll back all of the rights we're talking about, we are all in danger. Imagine that we're in the year 2022. Trump got his way and the right wing controls the Supreme Court. They have interpreted the law back to the 1800s, and rights that we cherish today have vanished from millions of Americans. Discrimination is possible in all of its forms. LGBTQ families do not have legal protections, and we watch as ourselves, our friends, and our families live in legal limbo, not knowing what the future holds. We are one of thousands of couples who are affected by these decisions. Many of our sisters and brothers have serious ramifications to consider. Some of us have children, parents to take care of, medical decisions to make, inheritance fights to have with family members who are not as supportive as ours, and so much more. These decisions matter. Who sits with the black robe on the dais matters. They matter in all sorts of circumstances, like choice, affirmative action, right to travel, right to marry, and so much more. We stand with you and the reproductive community and the civil rights community, and we say no, Brett Kavanaugh, just no. Stop Kavanaugh. Together we will. Thank you.
Who wears the black robe matters. Black robes matter. Black robes do matter. And it does matter who is wearing them. And I know one thing, I'm not going back to the 1800s. Hell no. Not to the 1800s, not even the 1900s. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Rebecca. Let's give them another thank you so much. Those are very strong, very wise, powerful words, and give us the foresight that we need. Our next performer is Ash. Ash is a San Francisco-based composer, writer, and vocalist. He's been hailed as the fresh, experimental voice in art pop by the likes of Vice, The New Yorker, The Advocate, and Tidal. He will be singing his original song, Migrant, and is joined by Evan Kahn on cello.
Thank you. Let me explain for a bit. I'm a person of color, I'm gay, and I'm an immigrant, but I'm not ashamed, I'm not afraid, because we are all here. And this next song, which is called Migrant, we dedicate to the 565 children who may never see their parents again, and we can't let that happen. So repeat after me, Kavanaugh. 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 Thank you, guys. All right. Ooh, even Mama sets arrived in Rio. When the forest had fallen, when the uncertain is safer. Hope in a dinghy of rubber, like roses wilting overseas. The boats they are just like us, from places often lost in maps. They are just like us. You see their homes were burnt. Lights of dawn, they look like us. Their homes were burnt. In lights of dawn, they look like us. Hoping long gone brothers, hoping debts of this ocean, on the shore of nightmare and dream. Baby drums, father tripping off forgotten, with a family photo to the name. They are just like us, hoping someday they will come back home. They are just like us. You see them homes were burnt. Lights of dawn, they look like us. The homes were burnt. Lights of dawn, they look like us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ash. And Evan on the cello. Well, our next speaker. The next three speakers represent just a few of the biggest issues that are under threat because of the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. Orson Aguilar is the president of Greenlining, one of the nation's multi-ethnic advocacy and development nonprofits. A native of Los Angeles, he seeks to empower communities of color to overcome the redlining that has hampered economic and social development for decades. Orson. And Orson has some company with him. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm here with our family because this is an important topic that not only impacts us, impacts them. My daughter Nayeli, Danilo, Emilio, my wife Glalia out there. And on behalf of the Greenlining Institute, for me it's an honor to co-host this event. Greenlining exists because of the legacy of redlining. Redlining is the legacy that this country has of excluding women, people of color, LGBTQ people, people with disabilities. And so what we try to do is to undo the legacy of redlining by advocating for what we call greenlining. So when it comes to Kavanaugh, we know that he will fight to keep that awful legacy intact. right? We are not let that happen. And just want to touch on an issue that hasn't been touched on much today, is the issue of immigration. So my wife here, she came to this country undocumented. Today she's a doctor, today she votes. My parents came to this country undocumented. They worked for 30 years, retired, and today they vote. And so to the dreamers out there, because of this, because all of you are here fighting, dreamers, one day you too will vote. And so we do this for our kids because we're all taking pictures today. We don't want them to look at this picture 30 years from now and say, what happened, Dad? What happened, Papa? What happened, Mama? We were supposed to stop Kavanaugh, right? We already feel guilty that their president is President Trump, right? So we cannot let this happen. Kavanaugh, thank you to NARAL, thank you to Unite for Justice. Defeat Kavanaugh. Thank you very much.
Kavanaugh, we're getting it, Kavanaugh. Hell no. Kavanaugh. All right then. So, who has this? Woo! Yeah, if you don't have one, get one, girl. So, there are folks that are, I believe, walking around with these. And let me tell you what they're for. In about 15 minutes or so don't go away. In about 15 minutes or so, what we want to have done is that you can write on here why you want to stop Kavanaugh. Whatever your issue is, it may take a while for some of us, but if you want to put a couple of words on there, and then what will happen, guys, is this. Look up. In a few minutes, you're going to see a unmanned flying machine. I don't know what the technical word is. It's drone. It's a drone. It's going to be a drone. And it will have a camera fixed to it. And then when the time is right, we are all going to flash our signs. And we're going to take a wonderful photo of our quilt of reasons why we must stop Kavanaugh. How do you think about that? What do you think about that, Bay Area? We're going to use all our technology. So stick around. Glad that you are here, and we're glad that you're here to welcome our next speaker. And that is Kristen Chassett and the Little Lobbyist. Little Lobbyist is a grassroots organization run by families whose children experience complex medical needs and disabilities. Kristen Chassett, an early member of Little Lobbyist, is an active member of the Family Advisory Council at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital and fights for health care access for disabled children every day. Please come up and let's welcome Kristen.
Thank you. I am humbled to be on this stage today with such incredible and powerful voices in our community. My name is Kristen Chassett, and I am the mother of Cora, who is 5.5, and Megan, who is 3. And I'm here today to tell you about Megan's fight to live. Megan was born on July 23, 2015, with an undiagnosed congenital heart defect. Within 5 hours of her birth, Megan underwent her first of 2 open heart surgeries. The surgery saved her life, But just 4 weeks later, complications arose and she underwent her second open heart surgery. Megan spent nearly a year in the intensive care unit. Finally, at 11 and a half months old, we were able to bring her home to her wonderful and loving big sister, Cora. Megan suffers from chronic lung disease and a disease called pulmonary hypertension, and as a result, she breathes with the assistance of a trach tube in her throat with a ventilator and supplemental oxygen to help support her to do normal things like to walk and to talk and to reach her cognitive and physical developmental milestones. Megan is fed through a G-tube in her tummy, and she receives up to 16 medications a day. She requires in-home skilled nursing and eyes on her at all times. My incredible husband Nick and I had no idea that Megan was sick while I was pregnant. We had no idea that within her first year of life, her medical bills would top $10 million. And we certainly had no idea that we were capable of becoming medical experts and advocates for our little girl. What we do know now, however, is that the Affordable Care Act has kept our family financially solvent. As Megan's medical bills eke toward $15 million, we are grateful for the ACA's removal of lifetime insurance caps. We are grateful that Megan can stay on our insurance until she is 26 years old. And mostly we are grateful that she has a chance to celebrate her 26th birthday. Megan was born with multiple pre-existing conditions. Under the Affordable Care Act, she cannot be discriminated against by insurance companies for something she has absolutely no control over. She will have the same opportunities as her sister and her cousins, but without this protection, her future potential in this world will be severely handicapped. Megan is a Medicaid recipient, covering two incredibly important services to her safety and her recovery. It covers her in-home skilled nursing care and her multiple therapists. We are grateful that we live in a state that values the importance of Medicaid coverage for its most vulnerable citizens. We know this administration will continue to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, brick by brick, piece by piece, for nothing more than political cynicism. The lifetime appointment of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court threatens the viability and the longevity of the Affordable Care Act to its core. We cannot allow this administration to further its legacy of victimizing the most vulnerable people in this country by confirming Brett Kavanaugh. There's too much at stake if the Affordable Care Act no longer remains the law of the land. How does my family afford Megan's medications? What happens when we cap out of our private insurance coverage? What happens when Megan becomes an adult and cannot afford health coverage because of her pre-existing conditions? So let's use our collective voices and power today and every day to fight back against the nomination and confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Vote in November 6th midterm elections. Bring 2 friends with you to vote in November. We stop this administration from further destroying our core values by regaining power in Congress. We know what we must do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen. and her lovely family. Next, we have Maggie Thomas. Maggie Thomas is a Golden State climate warrior who was fighting for justice at Next Gen America. Come on up, Maggie.
Thank you. It is an honor to share the stage with so many people on the front lines of this fight who are passionate about all of our fundamental rights. My name is Maggie Thomas, and I'm here today on behalf of Next Gen America, an organization that acts politically to prevent climate disaster, promote prosperity, and protect the fundamental rights of every American. So naturally we, like all of you, have strong feelings about the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh, a man put forward by our criminal in chief. That's right! People think Brett Kavanaugh is a good guy because he drives his kids to soccer. But we know Mr. Kavanaugh is a man who has made a career out of arguing against people's fundamental rights and will stand with the interests of big corporations against the American people at every chance he gets. Today, the stakes are higher than ever before. Here in California, people are fleeing from their homes as wildfires threaten to burn everything they know and love. We can no longer wait to act on climate. We can't afford a judge on the Supreme Court who has the record of protecting the environment that is nothing short of disastrous, unless, of course, you're a large corporate polluter. In California, there are over 24 wildfires burning right now, some of them among the largest in our state's history. They're burning homes, taking lives, and throwing our future into a state of uncertainty. Without bold climate action, extreme weather events like hurricanes and floods will become the new normal. But Kavanaugh's record shows that he's willing to buck 30 years of legal precedent to say the government should sit idly by and do nothing but watch the world burn. What's worse, this administration just announced a dirty power scam to replace the Clean Power Plan. The EPA, in that very same regulation, let us know that the dirty power scam will kill an additional 1,400 Americans every year. Twisted Trump and his corrupt cronies are willing to threaten American lives to prop up profits for big polluters. And Kavanaugh is ready to rubber stamp it. Here in the Golden State, that's not acceptable. But climate action isn't the only thing at risk in this battle for the highest court in our country. If you're a woman who believes that access to birth control is an essential part of healthcare, your rights are under attack. If you're a member of the LGBT community who wants to be recognized and treated as a human being, your rights are under attack. If you're someone who believes we have a right to clean air, clean water, and a sustainable future, your rights are under attack. If you believe that every child has the right to a quality public education, your rights are under attack. And if you believe that corporations shouldn't be able to buy our elections, your rights are under attack. When our democracy fails, people get screwed. So today, we have all come together to fight for the future of the Supreme Court and make sure that it will stand up for the rights of every American and not just a powerful few. Let's do this. Let's stop Kavanaugh.
Anybody know the date when the hearings start? September 4th. September 4th. So now is the time to make your voice heard. Who is already telling their stories with hashtag Stop Kavanaugh? Who's doing that? Hashtag Unite for Justice. Are you doing that? Right on. Well, our next performers, Emma's Revolution. Emma's Revolution is the dynamic, award-winning activist duo of Pat Humphries and Sandy O, whose songs have been sung for the Dalai Lama, praised by Pete Seeger, and covered by Holly Near. They're going to share with us today. They'll be singing 2 original songs. You guys ready? Yeah. Here's Emma's Revolution!
Hey y'all, how you feeling? You look powerful! We're gonna show them that, right? So, I'm Emma.
I'm the Revolution.
I'm really Sandy O.
I'm Pat Humphries.
And you are the Revolution! So please also give a warm welcome to Michelle Garlish joining us on percussion today. Come on. So in this song, I'm gonna sing, I'm a woman, and you're gonna sing back.
And I have these rights, whether you are one or not.
Just think of it. Just think of it as the generic.
We did for about a century. We wrote this song during the time where they were doing those vaginal ultrasound, transvaginal ultrasounds, and the governor of the state of Pennsylvania said, "Oh, if women have a problem with this, they should just look away," as if that would solve the problem. So we felt like one of the campaigns they used during that time was "Enough is enough." And I think especially now, enough is way enough with Trump in office. And the possibility of him being able to choose his juror in this case of Kavanaugh. We have to say no to Kavanaugh, no to Trump. In fact, no to the entire administration. Let's start over.
Here in this body, I am woman to my soul. With hips and breasts and belly that you try to control. But the more you constrain me with your laws across the land, the harder I will push back and the stronger I will stand. I'm a woman and I have my we are women and we have these we are human and we have these rights to know. Divide us straight from the queer, the ones who have the papers from the ones not born here. But we will not be taken with your hatred and spite. We see right through your smoke screen. We're united for the right. I'm a woman and I have these rights. We are women and we have these rights. We are human and I have these rights. Love is enough. The right to freedom, have these rights. The right to safety, have these rights. Self-expression, have these rights. To our own body.
song for you. And we wrote this song back when we thought we already had the worst president ever. And there were a couple things in common between that time and this time. For one thing, voter suppression. Have you been watching what's going on? Yes. So we had a victory in Georgia, but we need to keep our eyes open. We need to stop the voter suppression and the voter intimidation. And the other thing that was going on at that time, we need to get out the vote in November. What? Yeah. So, the other thing that was going on back when that other guy was president, and we thought he was so horrible, and now we know that he was. And but there was something worse. There was a guy on TV at that time who had a reality show, and at the end of every episode, he would wag his finger, and he would say those two famous words. You're fired! That's right. So now apparently he's supposed to be working for us. We supposedly elected him, hired him, which is, yeah, right, no way. Yeah. But I think it's about time for us to deliver those words back to him. Yeah, baby! And to some of his evil henchmen.
This could be a very, very long song.
But we're going to start with Stephen Miller.
Oh, yeah!
Who is the architect of the travel ban and also of that child separation policy. So get ready. You'll know your part when it comes. If they could count the billions that the loser says he's worth, why can't they count our votes? And if they can count the indictments that mother has unearthed, why can't they count our votes? We're not done, we're not tired, we won't stop until Stephen Miller, you're fired! Does that feel good? If they can count the Facebook data that they stole, why can't they count our votes? If they can count the
We could start with the one whose initials is DT. Yeah. That's right. You are fired, Jack. Hit the road. So thank you so much. And one more time for Emma's Revolution. That was terrific. Thank you. Our next speaker is Ambassador Eleni Kanalokas.
Yeah.
Oh, she is a California businesswoman, a Democratic Party activist, a wife and a mother of 2 teenage sons, and she has served as the U.S. ambassador to Hungary under President Barack Obama. Now, she is running to win as our next California Lieutenant Governor.
All right, San Francisco. My name is Eleni Kounalakis. I'm a former U.S. ambassador, and I'm running to be California's next lieutenant governor, and the first female lieutenant governor in the history of our state. My friends, I am a living, breathing example of the American dream, of the California dream. My father was an immigrant, and he came to this country when he was 14 years old, no money, no English, to work in the fields of California as a farm worker. My own grandmother never went to school. She never learned to read or write. And in one generation, I became the first Greek American woman ever to serve as a United States ambassador to any country. That is the American dream. But let me say that all along this journey, I have been very well aware that the ability to control my body, the ability to make my own reproductive choices, is what allowed me to travel the journey that I have. I know it. I know this, and I knew it as I was going in my life as a businesswoman, in my many years in school, and in my decisions finally to have children when I was in my mid-30s. We are not going to give up our rights to control our body. That is off the table. Now, when I was a United States ambassador, I served in Hungary, and some of you may have been following the story there. A very sad story. Hungary was a Soviet satellite, and after the fall of the wall in 1989, 1990, they elected their first freely elect parliament, and they began their transition to democracy. But when I arrived there in 2010, it was after the recession. People were very dissatisfied, and Viktor Orban came into power on a promise that he alone can fix it. He won a supermajority, began to unwind checks and balances. He politicized the court system. He muzzled the press. He weakened all the democratic institutions, and he consolidated power in the hands of himself and his family. Sound Trump. Familiar? Trump. Well, let me tell you right now, that is not going to happen here in the United States of America. We are not going to allow it. You said it! We are not going to do it! Right after the election in 2016, as we were all crawling back out from under our covers, I was fortunate to moderate a panel with an activist named Masha Gessen. I don't know if you all have heard of Masha. Masha is one of the most well-known dissidents from Russia. She fled Russia twice, in fact, and lives here in the United States. And at the end, as we were talking on this panel, which, by the way, was called The Road to Tyranny, she ended it with this comment. And she said, you know, I am optimistic
because never in the history of the world has a would-be autocrat met a civil society like we have here in the United States. Civil society is you. Civil society is each and every one of you. Those of you who are here because you support NARAL or NOW or who else do we have? Oh my God, I asked a list of more than 20 civil society organizations that have called all of you here. And what are you doing? You are standing in the sun, you are holding your signs. Keep abortion legal, protect Roe, stop Kavanaugh. Imagine if every criminal got to pick his judge. Kavanaugh, no. I stand with Planned Parenthood. This is your voice, and your voice is being heard today. Your voice is heard in San Francisco, across California, all the way across the country to Washington, D.C. That is what you are doing here, and this is just the beginning. Are you ready for this fight? I'm ready for this fight too. You know, 2018 is the most consequential election in the history, certainly the modern history of our country. It is time to stop this nightmare. It is time to elect people who will serve the people, who will represent the will of the people. And we will do it because we're going to keep marching, we are going to keep protesting, we are going to ensure that our voice is heard and that our votes are counted. And I want to know, are you with me? Are you ready for 2018? Are we going to win back the House? Are we going to stop Kavanaugh? Are we going to elect Never forget that President Barack Obama, at his core, as his basis for becoming our president, a great president, was an organizer, a community organizer. This is it. This is what we've got, and we are not going to stop until we stop Kavanaugh. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you to our next Lieutenant Governor, lady, like us, our U.S. Ambassador to Hungary. As these guys are setting up, okay, I think it's already become apparent to you that there's something in the sky. Okay, you look at you all, you're so beautiful. I love you. I want folks to, however, just come a little closer to in the middle. Come a little closer in the middle. If you are in the trees, get out of the trees. Let's be a family. All right. And so I have no particular instruction because we can't, it's not like we can hear the camera click. But I can tell you from right here, it looks good. And so we're going to have you guys hold just for about 20 seconds. And I think we'll be good. You're making some history. How does it feel? For being here on this Sunday. Thank you. Thank you. together this event today. First of all of our speakers. Our mayor, Congresswoman Barbara Lane. Our state legislators. Our community leaders and activists. Jason Morrow, he's been playing bass guitar, backing vocals. TJ Guardino, Debbie Nair, Cody Rhodes, our co-host for the event, Asian Americans Advancing Justice from the Asian Law Caucus, California National Organization for Women, California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation, Courage Campaign, Democratic Socialists of America, SF Chapter, Dim Films in Silicon Valley, Equal Rights Advocates, Equal Justice Society, Equality California, Indivisible SF, Move On San Francisco, Next Gen America, Planned Parenthood, Northern California, Akron Con, Raging Grannies in the East Bay, Refuse Fascism, Bay Area, San Francisco Democratic Party, the Sierra Club, South Beach District 6 Democratic Club of San Francisco. That's a long name, but we love it. The Green Lining Institute, the Women's Building, United Democratic Club, Women's March, San Francisco. Our team here, the staff at NARAL, Pro-Choice, California, Amy Everett, Shannon Hobus, Ellie Leahy, Amelia Furlong, Teresa King, Rachel Casera, Lydia Harrington, Olia Egoros. And if they're here, I would love for them to raise their hands and then make sure that you folks see them. Come on, NARAL. The staff of 50+1 Strategies, Nicole Durst, Emily Gittleman, Schlichter, and Bajel. San Francisco Rec and Park, Fire Department, Department of Public Works, our park rangers, Ecology, SFPD, and all city employees who helped to make this happen. Thank you all very much for your contribution. Elliot Hellman, our interpreter, and the Terps for the Bay Area Resistance. Where's Elliot? Elliot, I think, was over here a minute ago. Thank you, Elliot. Reverend Dr. Megan Rower and the volunteer peacekeepers. All our event volunteers. Thank you all for all that you've done today. So, to wrap up, to send us out, send us into the streets, send us into our communities, once again, as everyone told your story, shared it on hashtag Stop Kavanaugh. And you told your stories and shared, and encouraged people. Stop this combination and unite for justice. You see what the registration is? You haven't registered to vote? Do so. You need to get informed to help a friend register to vote? Do so. Let's please vote. A woman's place is in the U.S. House of Representatives. And we have many great candidates that we need to support and take our country back. So, once again, let us welcome our performers, Lanice Smith. All right, are you all ready?
Yeah, we need to hear everyone.
We hear everybody. Let me hear y'all. Let's get some energy. All right, take it away.
They keep pushing. They hope that we'll get tired of watching. See
see children in cages and black bodies in the streets. They think that we'll stop caring that social welfare is being dismantled. We have to let them know that we are tired.